Every now and then, I'll play a game that sticks with me for a long time. These are games like The Last of Us, Bioshock, Outer Wilds, or even Disco Elysium, and Alan Wake 2 more recently. These sorts of games tend to redefine what a game can be for me, and Devil May Cry 3 is no different, as it showed me just how much more an action game can strive for, with its elaborate combos, magnificent level design and atmosphere, and a story so beautiful that even a devil may cry. This is a video in a retrospective series that I'm doing covering Devil May Cry. So, if you want, you can watch the previous videos and come back. Or watch this one first and then consider checking out the other ones. It's up to you. This video will be more akin to my Resident Evil 4 video, where I will try to talk about every single thing in the game, since you guys really seem to have enjoyed that one. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you do enjoy, as it really helps me out. Without further ado, let's fire up the jukebox in style and get this party started. Devil May Cry 3 began its development immediately after Devil May Cry 2 development cycle was over, and this was because the game's director, Hideaki Itsuno, was less than satisfied with the state of the MC2, as he had only been brought in towards the end of its development, and felt like he could achieve a lot more had he been part of the development team since the start. One of the first steps taken when developing Devil May Cry 3 was creating a new camera system that would try to keep Dante in the center of the screen, so he's always in the middle of the action. This would in turn make the player feel like they're in the middle of the fight, which makes for more adrenaline-inducing encounters as the player gets surrounded. It would also be quickly decided that the difficulty had to be raised for the Western market, as the MC2 had been a disappointment when it came to providing the player with a meaningful challenge. After all, almost all enemies in that game were easily taken care of by standing far away from their attacks and spamming your firearms. So, in order to counter this, Itsuno created a game so difficult at launch that even From Software would be proud. When it came to the story itself, Itsuno was at a bit of an impasse. See, he later spoke in an interview about how he felt that Dante was not his character, as he hadn't created him himself. And so he felt like he couldn't stray too far from his established personality without upsetting the fans. So, in order to avoid this, he decided to make the MC3 a prequel to the first game. That way, any difference in personality could easily be explained by Dante maturing. And it also meant future games could correct the trajectory of his character if fans didn't like his interpretation of who Dante should be. By making this game a prequel, Itsuno would also be able to retcon what happened to Virgil, and have him be the main antagonist for this game, turning the conflict into a brotherly feud, a clash of ideologies if you will. For Dante's casting, Ruben Langdon was picked to act out this younger, more rash version of Dante, whereas for Virgil, Dan Southworth was picked to portray a collected yet spiteful samurai, something which turned out to be perfect for Southworth, as he knew a lot about samurais, greatly easing him into being able to voice and mocap Virgil. Itsuno's main goal when developing this game seemed to be creating an expanded version of the original, as he restored the smaller but heavily detailed areas, as well as wanting to have Dante use a greater variety of weapons by bringing back purchasable actions. This was definitely the right choice, given that the game released to critical acclaim in 2005, with it being featured in the top spots for best PlayStation 2 games, and it nowadays being considered a cult classic for those who love the genre. With some of the development history of this game out of the way, let's jump into the masterpiece that really brought the franchise under the spotlight.
You've heard of it, haven't you? The Legend of Sparta?
Much like the other two games, Devil May Cry 3 begins with the Legend of Sparta. A young woman retells the tale, while in the background we watch two swordsmen fighting. The woman tells us that she knew the legend was real, as she had met the Sons of Sparta. Both of them. And we see two young men fighting in the rain, the sheer velocity of their swings creating a shield from the rain, as they slice through the raindrops themselves. The man in blue disarms his opponent, and just as the music stops,
But in the end, was left standing.
We cut to a different location, where a telephone rings, and out comes our protagonist to answer.
Sorry, not open for business yet.
This is a partial callback to the first game, as just like it, we are introduced to Dante answering a phone call in his shop. However, this time, it is yet to be named, as this game actually takes place 10 years prior to DMC1. Here is where we are also introduced to Dante's addiction to pizza, before we cut away to a man standing ominously outside the shop. And again, very much like the first time we saw him, Dante does not take this potential threat seriously, and tells him the toilet's in the back. The man seems to know who Dante is, and after being questioned on this, he reveals to Dante he learned of him through his brother Virgil. Something which should come as a shock to Dante, given that he thought Virgil had perished when they were attacked by demons all those years ago. This is instead explained away in a prequel manga, which shows that Virgil and Dante had actually met almost a year before this day, and Dante was now fully aware his brother was not only alive, but had turned to evil schemes as he chose to embrace his demonic half over his human one, a theme which will play a major role in the franchise from here on out, right up until the ending of DMC5. Back to the game, the strange man shows great interest in Dante's amulet, and offers Dante an invitation in the form of an attack. And this cutscene is perfect for setting the tone for this game, so I'll just let you guys enjoy it.
Invitation, huh? This party's getting crazy. Let's rock.
Right, this is where we get our first fight, and fun fact, every move you just witnessed in the cutscene is in fact something you can do yourself in-game, including using enemies as surfboards, which is just awesome. We start the game off with Dante's staples, Ebony and Ivory, as well as Rebellion and its base moves. New to the franchise, however, is the addition of styles. These are new moves which focus on a particular style of gameplay.
Concerning the style, more important than adding new styles. If they have more time, of course, that's something they plan to do. But more important than that, they want to get down the 4 that they've shown already, and they want to make it so that right now, he doesn't feel there's enough separation between them. Like, if they feel too similar, then there was no point in making the styles at all, really. So he has to make sure that each style, in combination with weapons, yields a new super cool ability. And so that's what he wants them to focus on, to make sure that when you are playing the gunslinger style and you're using the guns and you really feel it, and it feels like something that feels like a game that would feel like if you're focusing on the guns. And you're playing the swords, then you're going to have more cutting and close-up action, and that just totally feels like that style. But I feel that they shouldn't have to focus on 100% balance. Balance should not be laid 100% equally over the different styles. There should be times where you're using a style and saying, man, using this style is making this level a pain in the butt. And other times you're saying, man, using this style just makes it look so cool right here. So I want them to focus on making each style fun and unique in its own right versus trying to balance the game perfectly across the board for all styles.
Up first we got Trickster, a style geared towards those who love having a wider range of movement, as its starting ability is allowing Dante to dash away from enemy attacks, effectively serving as a more reliable dodge mechanic compared to the roll. If having to dodge isn't your style though, you can also take a more defensive role with Royal Guard, which gives Dante the ability to concentrate demonic energy around his arms, and parry any incoming attack. This style isn't for the less experienced, however, as it requires almost frame-perfect timing, and failing to do so means some of your health will still be chipped away. The pros of this style, however, definitely outweigh its cons, as every successful parry will fill up your rage meter, and once full, if released at the right time, will deal an absurd amount of damage to any enemy standing in front of you. Do you prefer avoiding enemies altogether, and instead would rather hit them from afar? Well, then Gunslinger is for you. Whilst it's my least favorite style in the game, I can still see its appeal, as gaining new moves for your guns is most certainly a positive, given that almost all guns only have the ability to shoot normally from the ground, with the exceptions of Ebony and Ivory and the sawed-off shotgun, which also allow you to shoot a few times mid-air to gain airtime. And finally, my personal favorite style, Swordmaster. This bad boy will turn Dante into a combo machine, as even at its most basic level, it allows Dante not only to switch up his ground combos by adding a new attack, it now also allows Dante to fully engage enemies in the air, as striking them using Swordmaster allows Dante to remain off the ground and continuously juggle them as you are no longer sent down with them. So yeah, if you notice that I'm always using Swordmaster throughout the video and you're wondering why, it's because I love being able to get my style meter up as fast as possible to that sweet triple S. Which, speaking of, let's talk about that for a minute. The MC3 makes small changes to the style meter, which turn it from something you wouldn't really pay notice to in the first two games, to a mechanic you are heavily incentivized to take advantage of. Not only can you now see the progress as you move up each level, the game added 2 tiers above S, those being double S and triple S. And achieving that final tier is where the final challenge lies, because once you get to this point, Dante will gain the ability to perform longer and faster combos with certain moves, which gives the player a significant reward for playing the game stylishly, which suits these games both mechanically as well as narratively, as performing better the more stylish he considers himself fits perfectly into Dante's character, which segues nicely back into the story, because once Dante has adequately taken care of all the enemies in the shop, he'll grab his coat and ready himself for
one hell of a party!
Heading outside, Dante will find himself surrounded by more demons, and gets rightfully pissed that they destroyed his shop. After all, he hasn't even had the chance to name the place yet. He'll stylishly put on his coat, and now it's time for some more demon killing. But not before all the settling dust makes Dante sneeze, causing even more of the shop to fall to ruin. Understandably, this angers Dante, and now it's time to kick some ass. After dealing with a few waves of enemies, we have our first boss, the Hell Vanguard. This is a larger, more dangerous version of the Hells you've been fighting so far, those being Pride, Lust, and Wrath. The Hells are lesser demons, which represent the 7 sins. Pride is the weakest of the 7, but they make up for what they lack in strength with numbers, as they will always try and surround the player. The second sin you meet is lust. While lacking the numbers of pride, these demons are much faster, and not only are able to dodge some attacks, but are also able to immediately retaliate with a dash attack. And finally, the third hell you'll encounter is Wrath, a much slower hell, and a much more miserable one, as it is forced to carry an organic sack, which explodes when damaged or dropped, wiping out anything in its proximity. The Hell Vanguard, however, is a different story, as it is a full boss fight, as this hell is known as the God of Death, and is feared by other demons for its sadistic personality, and oh, he's dead. Jokes aside, it's an okay starting boss, as it's simply an incremental step in difficulty over the regular enemies. I believe what this boss is most well known for is trapping you in a loop where all your swings get parried, making you roll away from its attacks. It is also able to teleport, and has a decent slashing move as it teleports towards you, but as long as you're quick on your feet, you should have no trouble at all. Upon killing it, a tower will erect itself out of the ground, destroying entire city blocks around it. Atop the tower, a figure donning blue clothes stares you down. Dante instinctively knows this is his brother, Virgil, and as the two seem to make eye contact, despite the great distance between them, the Vanguard reveals itself to have survived, and flees towards the tower. Dante starts heading towards his brother, and as the camera pans up, we see, I kid you not, a massive floating whale. We are gonna ignore that for now, but believe me, it will come into play later. And with that, Mission 2 is over. And what a perfect introduction this is for the new and improved combat system, as both arenas are simple and provide the player with a playground for full experimentation with all the different styles. But now let us move on to Mission 3, one that is perhaps most infamous for awarding the player with the Easy Mode is now selectable screen, which you'll probably get after dying a bunch to this mission's boss. But before we get to that, how about we check on what Virgil is up to, as that is where this mission opens. The strange man from before approaches Virgil, and we are given his name, Arkham. He begins raving about the history of this place, named Temenegru, as it was apparently the original medium between the demon and human world. And if you've done your homework on the series lore, then you'll realize that this tower is what Sparta sealed away all those years ago. And according to Arkham, the tower will finally be able to fulfill its true purpose. Throughout his ravings, Virgil just kind of stands there, stoically. And I love the use of music in this scene, as it has this huge build-up while Arkham is speaking, indicative of his more dramatic personality. But the second Virgil cuts him off, right as the music is about to finish its rise, it falls right back down, almost declaring Virgil to be superior in this partnership.
Now, after 2 millenniums of confinement, it can at last fulfill the purpose for which it was intended.
That's none of my concern. Did he have it?
The reason behind Virgil's interruption is that he in fact does not care for the history of this place, and is instead simply interested in whether or not Dante still possessed his half of the amulet, given to them by their mother all those years ago. After getting confirmation that this is the case, Virgil speaks of Dante not knowing the amulet's true power, a word which has become synonymous with Virgil's character. And for good reason, as whenever he is not bickering with his brother, he is instead searching for ultimate power, no matter its cost, a theme which is heavily explored both in this game and the MC5. Back to the story, the two characters are interrupted by the Hell Vanguard, the one that Dante let escape earlier. And as a way of giving the player a taster of Virgil's power, the devs decided to have Virgil perform the coolest execution I've seen, and once again having his actions have a direct impact on the music for the scene. Back on the ground, we see the corpse falling, and the camera pans to a motorbike being ridden by a woman. And I cannot wait to talk more about her as we progress, but now all we know is that she was searching for this place. She rides away, leaving behind a small fire trail, which kills the demons attempting to catch her, their bodies falling on the ground in the shape of a 3. And now, I get to talk about one of my favorite details in this game, which is that every single starting cutscene for a mission in this game will include the mission number itself within it. This is likely the first instance you'll notice this, as in the first 2 missions, these numbers are slightly more hidden, due to them being part of the environment itself. But yeah, I just find this detail really cool, as it will always make me scour the cutscene for the mission number whenever I forget its location on a particular one. But now it's time we start the mission proper, and we will begin in 66 Slum Avenue, a place worthy of its name, as around you you'll see piles of garbage, graffiti, and to top it off, the centerpiece of this location is a strip club. Here you'll be attacked by new demons named Enigmas. These enigmatic creatures, get it, are one-eyed living statues who are able to shoot out bursts of energy bolts. These guys are especially annoying to deal with from a distance, as your guns will likely do very little damage against them when you're starting out. Entering the club, you'll find yourself in its bar/lounge section, where the game will teach you that you're able to destroy part of the environment, as well as showing the basic of solving puzzles in this game, by hiding the switch required to progress behind some dart machines. Opening up the barrier to progress will also allow you to grab the sawed-off shotgun mounted on the wall, and taking inspiration from the previous game we don't talk about, the MC3 also allows you to freely switch between your firearms with a quick press of the left trigger. Proceeding into Love Planet, we get our introduction to the 4th hell, that being the Sloth, and in accordance with its name, this taller, lumbering demon does not walk around, but instead teleports towards you when attacking. So, if you want to avoid damage, you best be paying attention to their moans, as they cue you in as to whether or not they are teleporting. A rather fun thing to do here is to use the strip pole, where Dante will begin twirling around, kicking any enemy that gets close enough, which is just perfectly in character for him. Exiting the club, you'll find yourself at the entrance of Temenagru. However, before proceeding inside, if you have a quick look around 13th Avenue, seriously? First 66th Avenue and now 13th Avenue? Could you be any more on the nose? Anyway, exploring this street will award you with 3 secrets. The first on your left is an adjudicator statue. These statues are littered throughout the game, and serve to test your ability to perform stylish combos with your weapons. Each statue will be holding a certain number of flames, representing the required style ranking to pass the test, and the colors of these flames will indicate the weapon necessary to perform the test. These are very fun challenges, as it pushes the player to learn more about their weapons, and perhaps even discover new possible combos, as they have to swiftly move between different moves. Extinguishing the statue's flames will lead it to break and reveal a blue orb fragment, and just like the previous installments, gathering 4 of these will form a full blue orb, which increases Dante's maximum health. The second secret is much less hidden, as you'll likely immediately spot it when you step outside the club, and that is a second blue orb fragment floating above a balcony. This will teach the player that they are capable of performing a pseudo double jump, where they kick themselves off the wall to gain height. And the final secret found here is a secret mission, and now they're much closer to their original style in DMC1, where the player is given a variety of challenges rather than just clearing out an area. This first secret mission is triggered by entering a door on the side, and you'll complete it by killing all the enemies in Love Planet under the time limit. And finally, before you enter the tower, there is a divinity statue, a familiar sight for those who played the previous games, and much like the other 2 games, this is where you buy your upgrades, and this time they take the best of both worlds, by allowing you to buy actions for your weapons, but also buy straight up damage buffs for your firearms, giving the player a wider range of choices. And now you can finally enter the tower, where you'll find yourself in a room filled with ice, and encased in said ice is what seems to be a 3-headed dog blocking your path forward. Approaching it will trigger a cutscene, where the beast will break free of the ice and roar at Dante, warning him to leave, as he is not worthy of entering the tower.
Now, mortal, the likes of you are forbidden in this land. You are powerless, but not worthy to set foot here.
Wow. I've never seen a talking mud before.
Dante, as usual, ignores his foe, and simply retorts that he's never seen a talking mutt before. Little does Dante know, the player is about to be hit with one of these very soon. He continues to provoke Cerberus, resulting in the first real boss of the game.
Come on, puppy. Let's go.
You will regret this, you worm.
It's showtime. Come on.
Cerberus will be the player's first real challenge, as you're likely still getting used to the game's flow. His main gimmick is you can't damage him directly until you have broken the ice protecting his heads or paws. While the paws are easily attacked since they are grounded, it's the heads you're gonna want to go for, as they deal a much larger blow to its health bar. This is where the shotgun and my beloved Swordmaster style come in, as the shotgun is perfect for clearing the ice off all the heads due to its spread, and then you can use Swordmaster's aerial attacks to deal multiple blows in a row to each head. Speaking of the heads, each one has a different attack, and Cerberus will rotate them so the one in the middle is the head playing offense against you. These attacks include a shower of icebergs, a large ice block projectile, and even a deadly laser. Once the health bar drops to about a third, Cerberus will become enraged and turn red, allowing himself to break his constraints and unlocking a new attack, where he will lunge towards Dante, making it difficult to target his heads. However, as you keep damaging them, you'll actually begin chopping them off one by one, making Cerberus less powerful as a result, and in turn making your life easier. This is a really fun boss fight, and it probably led to many players being hit with the easy mode unlocked screen their first time around, but defeating him for the first time after learning his moveset is very satisfying, and made me fall in love with this game's gameplay. Defeating Cerberus will reward Dante with his first new devil arm, as Cerberus yields before you can kill him, and asks you to take him alongside you in your journey, as a set of 3-sided nunchucks. This game is so sick. Here is where we also get the first interaction between Dante and that lady from before. She breaks through the ceiling with her motorbike, and Dante tries flirting with her, only to get rejected via rocket launcher. And yes, Dante does use the rocket launcher to surf in the air, ending with an explosion he doesn't even look at for that added cool factor. The stranger chooses to ignore Dante, and defies physics as her bike performs a vertical jump without any incline whatsoever. This excites Dante as he seems to find himself some competition in reaching the top of the tower, ending the mission. We open mission 4 atop the tower once again, where Virgil is standing stoically as usual, while Arkham sits beside him, reading his book. Virgil breaks the silence by telling Arkham he is aware of this strange woman's presence, and Arkham goes away to take care of this problem, but not before revealing that the two are acquainted with each other, perhaps something to do with the fact that both of them possess heterochromia.
That is what you want. Actually, I happen to be acquainted with that woman. A storm is approaching.
Walking away, he drops one of the most significant lines in DMC history, one that would become intertwined with Virgil's character as we move forward. Mission 4 is our first inside Temenegro, this game's version of the castle in Malay Island, where you will frequently revisit areas with new items to progress, changing this from DMC2's linear approach back into something more akin to Resident Evil, where you slowly expand the number of areas available to you. You'll begin by making your way up these side ramps, and while the door on the left is locked behind a wall of flames, the blue door on the right is unlocked, and going through it, you'll find yourself in a small corridor, full of lesser demons, perfect for testing out your new weapon. And these nunchucks pack a punch. This weapon has by far the greatest attack speed, allowing you to quickly spam actions to overwhelm enemies. The trade-off for this is its damage per attack is rather low. Some of its most famous moves include Revolver, where you'll propel yourself forward as you damage enemies, as well as Windmill, where Dante will spin Cerberus rapidly enough to create a barrier between himself and other enemies. Overall, this is a great weapon for parrying enemies and stunning them, allowing you to switch to your more damage-heavy weapon to kill them quickly. After killing another room full of enemies, you'll encounter an elevator, where in order to activate it, you'll need to destroy the statues weighing it down. Once you reach the top of the elevator, you get introduced to the new hell, Gluttony, which functions similarly to Pride, but is slightly stronger and also has the ability to fire a sand blast from its mouth. This makes staying behind them during a fight a very viable strategy. You'll then proceed forward to this room with a staircase in the middle of an abyss. You'll obviously try taking the stairs, but unfortunately for you, this leads you to fall down to, I kid you not, the Chamber of Sins. And adequately, you'll have to fight the hells you have encountered up to this point in order to make your way out. This will open up the barrier blocking the large set of red doors, and through them, you'll find this level's boss, Gigapede. Gigapede is the Chad of tapeworms, with an exoskeleton that's durable enough to resist most of the damage dealt by Dante's ranged attacks, forcing you to get close and personal with it if you want to defeat it. The strategy is simple for this boss, as it will often enter and exit these holes around the map, making it easier to predict where it's going next. Use this to get ahead of it and jump on top of its head, and then swing away with your sword as you quickly put a massive dent in its health. Rinse and repeat until you slash the worm to pieces and enter the next room, where you'll find the key item, the astronomical board, which can be used on that centerpiece back at the tower entrance. But before we can make it back there, we need to open the door which closed behind us. Dante will try opening the door through sheer force, but it doesn't work. Something which truly shocks him, as he turns around with this facial expression. And before he tries shooting it down, we are introduced to the best character in the game.
There's no need to use violence, devil boy. Oh, wait. Better listen to what I say, lad. This tower here is very sturdy. You see? Your tricks will do no good. No good!
Zip it, or I'll pierce that big nose.
That could be a problem. Just hear me out. You've got nothing to lose, right? My name is Jester, and I know a thing or two about this place. That thing there is a power generator for this entire sector. In order to open the door, you need to apply a little something to it first. Do you know what that is, kid? Or is that too difficult for you?
Get to the point, or you want to keep on dancing?
Actually, I prefer a sword to be my partner. May I have this dance, my lady? Bingo! That is what the something is. Remember that, kid? Write it down on your hand if you don't trust your head.
I see. Thanks. You still piss me off, though.
I'm fully aware I gave no commentary on that scene, but I just had to let you experience that cutscene on your own for the few of you who haven't played the game yet. And if that doesn't convince you, I don't know what will. Anyway, that personality you just met was Jester. He is basically the game's way of pushing the player forward by guiding you through certain sections of the map. But believe me, there is more than meets the eye when it comes to this clown. As you saw, he was able to get Dante to do his bidding pretty easily and open up that door for him. We start mission 5 off with Jester thanking us for opening that lock. And he gifts us a new enemy type, the Bloodgoyles, and as the name suggests, these are indeed gargoyles made out of blood. These flying enemies were made to overwhelm you, as they are able to split up if attacked normally. So, in order to prevent this, you must first land a few hits with your guns in order to turn them to stone and ground them, allowing you to then dispatch them with a few swings of your devil arm. Defeating them all will open up a portal in the middle of the room, where inside it you'll find none other than Jester ready for a fight. And spoiler alert, you'll fight him a few times throughout the game, with each time in doing so, the fight becoming more complex. The starting fight only has a handful of mechanics. To begin with, you are not allowed to directly fight Jester until you've shot him enough times to make him too tired to dodge you. This is one of the ways this game's great level design is implemented, as you've just had to fight enemies using this very same mechanic, which makes it easier for the player to understand what they need to do. Once stunned, Jester will allow you to swing away at him for a bit, before teleporting away and summoning a barrier around him, drastically decreasing any damage dealt towards him by the player. The reason for this is the game wants you to focus on dodging for this section, as Jester will open up portals that spit out these energy spheres in a multitude of patterns, some predictable and some less so. Once defeated, Jester will begin laughing and waving goodbye, before taunting you by slapping his bottom, showing to you that your current power is a bit of a joke to him. Right, now with nothing in our way, we can use that device from earlier to give us access to the Vajura. It's this trident looking thingy that controls lightning, perfect for shoving into a random piece of machinery. Doing so will give you the Soul of Steel, its description stating the possessor need not fear hell nor oblivion, and if it hasn't clicked yet, it means you are now able to go back and cross the void without the need for the staircase, as you seemingly walk on air. Don't forget to break another combat adjudicator, and prepare yourself for another secret mission, where you get the simple task of killing all enigmas without getting hit. And as long as you don't dodge into one of their projectiles as I did, this is a free fragment. To progress, simply activate the switch and the central platform will begin rising, giving you a nice segment where you need to dispatch 4 Hell Prides at a time. Once you reach the top, you'll find a divinity statue, which, as you've probably noticed by now, means one thing: boss fight. The arena you enter is called the Firestorm Chamber, a small clue as to what this boss may involve. Guarding the way forward are 2 enormous statues, who wish to entertain Dante as they consider him a guest. The 2 bicker about how to do this, which bores Dante, leading to a great exchange.
You're right. We have to be gracious hosts. What should we do? How do I know? We need to come up with something. Brother, our guest is sighing. Sigh? What is sigh? Well, a sigh is when...
Enough already!
This leads Dante to losing his patience and telling the 2 he wishes to pass, something which the 2 brothers cannot allow as they stand up, revealing themselves to merely be the heads of the statues. Now, that would be enough of a punchline in a regular game, but this is Devil May Cry, so not only are their bodies the statues' heads, but their own heads are actually the hilts of their respective weapons. Gosh, this game just puts a smile on my face. Agni and Rudra are their names, and they make up your standard double boss fight, where both of them are nearly identical in their moveset aside from the elements they use, one bearing fire and the other wind. The strategy for defeating them is to parry their attacks. This leads them to stagger for quite an extended period of time, allowing you to make quick work of their health. Be careful not to kill one of them too early though, as the game will make it significantly harder to deal with the brother, as he'll pick up the second sword and become even more powerful. To avoid this, keep both enemies at equal health, and once you've killed one, unload everything you've got on the second brother during his running attack before he can pick up the sword. Now, this may just be me sucking, but back when I played this game for the first time, I remember dying a lot to this boss, and I realize why now. Back when I first played the MC3, I had this weird obsession with using only Rebellion as my main weapon for bosses, as I was more familiar with the way it handled. And of course, I was addicted to using Stinger to close gaps between enemies. So by doing this, I missed out on using Cerberus as the easiest counter to the Brothers' attacks, as its high attack speed means you can practically spam your attack and still get away with parrying any incoming attacks. So yeah, if you find yourself stuck on these guys, that's my nickel's worth. Defeating them will lead to a cutscene where, similarly to Cerberus, the pair now wish to aid Dante after seeing his strength. Dante agrees under the condition the pair don't speak. And so, once again, we get a badass cutscene of Dante playing with his new weapon.
Impressive.
No talking. Good.
We pass through the gate and finish mission 5. There you go. We're a quarter of the way there. Surely the final video won't be that long. This one's gonna take a while to edit, isn't it? Alright, time to talk about your newly acquired blades. Agni and Rudra contain the elements of fire and wind, and serve as a stand-in for Rebellion. I say this because the Devil Arms seem to be divided into two groups in this game, those with air hike and those without. I view these as your main weapons and your support weapons, with the main ones having moves similar in nature to Rebellion's, such as, the Million Slash and the Whirlwind being clearly inspired by Million Stab and High Time. Long story short, Agni and Rudra have a similar moveset to Rebellion. So why should you pick this weapon over Dante's staple Devil Arm? Well, Agni and Rudra have a fantastic crowd control on top of their element charged attacks, meaning you can quickly go through hordes of enemies without having to focus on a single one. This is definitely one of my favorite weapons in the series, as I absolutely love using Twister when Swordmaster is fully leveled up. And speaking of, let's talk about that. Styles will actually level up throughout the game as you collect red orbs. This isn't an upgrade you can buy, however. It is instead a bar on the top left of your screen that gradually fills up the more orbs you collect. Once the bar is full, each style will level up, greatly expanding its use by giving you more moves. For example, Trickster will allow you to dash multiple times, dash mid-air, and straight up teleport. Royal Guard will give you air counterparts to your block and release, as well as an ultimate, where blocked attacks convert into life for yourself. Finally, we have Gunslinger and Swordmaster, where upon leveling up, you'll earn yourself a multitude of new attacks for all your weapons. From a Gunstinger with a shotgun, and Million Carrots with Cerberus, to whatever the hell Danse Macabre is. Right, that's enough on styles, let's get back into the plot. Mission 6 starts with another cutscene focused on the mysterious young woman, this time showing off her true combat capabilities in a beautifully choreographed cutscene. Honestly, what's more impressive is the fact that she can do all these things despite only being a human. This mission is a particularly short one, as it revolves around you solving some trials in order to get through some debris, and you are tested on 3 basic skills: Wisdom, Agility, and Strength in Combat. The Trial of Wisdom is based on one of the most famous riddles you'll encounter today, that being the one about a human walking on 4 legs, then 2 legs, and finally 3. Get the order right, and you'll leave this trial without a single fight. The Trial of Skill involves you proving your agility by dodging spike traps, as you make your way forward. This is another easy trial, as you can see the spikes coming from miles away, and there's enough of a gap between the spikes to let you reposition in time. The final trial is that of the Warrior, which is a small fighting arena, where the enemies have a major buff, making them borderline. So, in order to fight them, you'll need to disable this buff by keeping both switches active. So this becomes a matter of balancing the amount of time you spend fighting versus activating the switches. You only need to pass 2 trials to power up the weapon to progress. However, beating the 3rd trial will allow you to gain access to this weapon, called Artemis. This gun is similar to Nightmare Beta, where it shoots multiple shots at once. The more you upgrade this weapon, the greater the number of targets it will lock onto. I do like this weapon's design, as it is mounted onto Dante's arm, and its demonic features like the wings and tail give it a crossbow look, which were obviously intended as Artemis is the name of the goddess of hunt, making hunting weapons such as a crossbow a perfect choice to base the weapon off of. After reaching this seemingly random balcony, we cut away to Miss Demon Hunter, who seems to be on an identical place to Dante, perhaps drawing a focus to the parallels in both their journeys, and as we'll soon find out, their tasks. Arkham enters the scene, and immediately reveals that this woman is in fact his daughter, something which she rejects, not because it's untrue, but rather due to her hating her father. Arkham then hits her with that Count Dracula pose before attacking her with his book and throwing his own daughter off the tower, with the mission ending as Lady falls into darkness, but not before being able to graze Arkham with a bullet, proving he is no stronger than a regular human, despite his unexplained teleportation throughout the game thus far. One thing of note here is Arkham's mention of being the one to name her, a name she'd very well soon come to reject. We now reach the mission of the Bash, where the two brothers finally meet after all this time. Sadly, the starting sequence already gave us a clue as to how that might go. The opening sequence starts with Dante on the balcony we last saw him on, and by pure luck, this is exactly where that lady was falling, and Dante manages to catch her by the leg. And rather than checking if she's alright, Dante, of course, decides to mess around.
Let you go? But it would be a waste if you ended up as just a pretty stain.
Which, of course, lands him a bullet in the head. The woman catches herself using the rocket launcher and comes to the conclusion that Dante too must be a demon. This mission is split into two halves, reaching Virgil and fighting Virgil. To reach Virgil, you'll make your way up these bounce pads and reach a room called the Pitch Black Void. And these outdoor sections are some of my favorite areas, as they give you these beautiful shots of the cityscape below you, making humanity feel tiny in comparison to these larger-than-life threats. This is one of those perfect examples of art direction being timeless despite the outdated graphics, as despite being almost 2 decades old, this game still looks really good, as they opted for a stylized look over a realistic one. Right next to this great moment is a blue orb fragment, infamous for being really annoying to obtain, as the camera angles become your greatest enemy. Hey, you win some, you lose some. Now, we could keep going up, but first, let's see what's at the bottom of that hole, as it will save us some time later. Plus, it fits the narrative more. At the very bottom, you'll find a library, which prevents you from leaving with a blue barrier, meaning we're solving a puzzle rather than fighting enemies. Okay. There are some statues from earlier, so you may think you simply have to break those. But after the first one, you may notice the next one has a slightly different color scheme, and that would be because these can in fact come to life. This is a great way to subvert expectations, as you probably think you're safe due to the blue barrier, when in fact you're in a room full of new enemy types, those being the damned pawns. These are the weakest of a series of new enemies called the damned chessmen, which are a neat group of enemies, each based off of a chess piece, with attacks representing said chess pieces. For example, the pawn will only be able to move short distances at a time, and its sword attacks end by its sides, making this more of a diagonal attack, just like the chess piece. Anyway, gathering the item in the library means you are done with the bottom section, and making your way back to the top, you'll find yourself in a corridor full of these new enemies. Further in the mission, you'll enter a tomb filled with coffins, its centerpiece being a statue of a siren. Approaching it will lead you to encounter the 6th hell, Greed. While not being able to attack you directly, unless you get in the way of its coffin, the Hell Greed instead opts to summon some of the other lesser hells, such as Pride or Lust. These are tankier enemies, and you can either opt to kill them first to end the fight quicker, or keep them around to increase your style rank. Once defeated, you can grab the Siren's Shriek, which is described as being able to calm even the most ferocious of flames. Well, remember that door back at the start of Mission 4? Time to make your way back there, and show off the interconnected level design in this game, as you can find an elevator that acts as a shortcut back to the entrance. After dealing with a few more enemies in the cursed skull chamber, you'll finally be able to open the door at the very top of the tower. Going through said door has one of my favorite moments in the game, as the background music goes silent, and you're left with nothing but the sound of the howling wind as you make your way up to the top to confront Virgil. As you get closer, the rain grows heavier, and reaching the final steps has this stunning shot of the moon looming above. I'll just let this next cutscene play and ask you to take note of the music being played in the background, as it's one of my favorite video game tracks.
You showed up.
You sure know how to throw a party. No food, no drinks, and the only babe just left.
My sincerest apology, brother. I was so eager to see you, I couldn't concentrate on preparations for the bash.
Whatever. At any rate, it's been a whole year since we last met. How about a kiss from your little brother? Or better yet, how about a kiss from this? So, this is what they call a heartwarming family reunion, eh?
You got that right.
Fighting Virgil for the first time is a feeling you never quite forget. His fights in the series are some of the most well-designed boss fights I have ever encountered in any video game. In your first fight with him, adequately named Virgil 1, his only weapon is the Yamato, Rebellion's counterpart. The Yamato is a katana, said to hold the power to cut through the very fabric of reality, making it one of, if not the most powerful devil arm in the entire series. So much so that it serves as the MacGuffin for the next two games, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Virgil's strikes with Yamato are swift, elegant, and precise. Unlike most enemies, you rarely see Virgil actually moving towards you, as he instead opts to either teleport or stand still, waiting for you to come to him, adding to this stoic personality of his. I remember this boss fight being my wake-up call, that I could no longer rely on simply spamming Stinger until I killed the enemy, as you can't simply attack Virgil whenever you please. Instead, you have to wait for opportune moments, after one of his attacks, whilst he is busy sheathing Yamato. One of his most iconic moves is introduced here, that being Judgment Cut, a ranged attack that forms an orb of slashes around the player. Some other things of note in this fight are Virgil's dialogue, as we get introduced to his famous and towards the end of the fight, the rain will have caused Virgil's hair to fall down, making him look very much like Dante. And this is where it should be obvious that they are twins, as it's literally the same character model used for the two of them. This fight is tough, and will likely send you back to the start a handful of times, but once you beat it, you get treated with another great cutscene. First, both brothers block sword attacks from one another, sending the two of them flying backwards. Dante pulls out his gun, but it's futile, as Virgil rotates Yamato so rapidly he not only deflects all the bullets, but catches them, lines them up on the floor, and then proceeds to hurl them back at Dante as a counter. That's gotta be the coolest shit I've ever seen. Virgil asks Dante why he refuses to gain the power of their father, not only further cementing Virgil's motivations of being able to protect himself after suffering his childhood trauma seen in the prequel manga, but also allowing Dante to show a bit more of his character, as he replies with,
Father? I don't have a father.
This draws a very clear parallel to the Lady Demon Hunter, as she too refuses to acknowledge the existence of her father. This is done in order to show that these two characters aren't so different from each other, which makes later interactions work that much better. The two brothers clash, and they strike each other with such power that their swords begin to heat up and have their edges glow. And this is where we get the scene from the start of the game, where Virgil impales Dante with Yamato. And given Yamato's sharpness, yeah, Dante is pretty much a goner. We get yet another classic line from Virgil, and as Dante falls backwards, Virgil rips his amulet off, and slices Dante's hand as he tries to reach for him. Keep this moment in mind, it will come back at the end of the game in a very poetic manner. Virgil slicks back his hair, and just for good measure takes Rebellion, runs at Dante, and impales him a second time, now with his own sword. Little did he know, this was a big mistake on his part, as just how Yamato's speciality is splitting things apart, Rebellion's is to fuse them back together. And just like that, Dante has awakened.
I see a devil inside you has awakened as well.
Wait. We should leave. For the moment we have all that we need.
Sadly, this energy burst isn't long-lasting, and Dante collapses on the floor as the mission ends. We now get one of the coolest sequences in the entire series, as Dante discovers his newly found power, lets him pull off some crazy stunts, all to the sound of my favorite DMC track, Devils Never Cry. And I'm sorry I've been showing so many clips in a row without commentary, but they're just all so good. See? I told you the whale would come into play later. Well, you've been swallowed by a flying leviathan. What's next? First, it's time to learn all about your new ability, Devil Trigger. If you're new to the series, Devil Trigger is the OG rage meter in these sorts of games. Basically, the more damage you deal or take, the more these little orbs under your health bar will begin to fill. Once you have 3, you can tap your left shoulder button, and Dante will unlock his demonic side, and get a damage buff alongside slowly regenerating your own health. One cool thing that this game does with the Devil Trigger is it uses the fact that this is the first time Dante is using this new power to its advantage. For example, rather than having his own DT form, like in entries further down the timeline, it instead opts to have Dante's DT form be shaped by the devil arm he is holding, implying Dante is less powerful and requires a bit of aid from these strong demonic weapons. Another cool feature is the Devil Trigger Explosion. This ability is exclusive to the MC3, and it allows you to hold the Devil Trigger button to charge up the DT notches. Then, once released, Dante will create an energy explosion around him, and the more notches you charge up, the more deadly this attack is, allowing you to easily clear rooms of lesser demons. This is a great feature to have in this game, as it shows Dante is less experienced, making his Devil Trigger a lot more volatile. Back to our current predicament, we begin by exploring the creature's stomach, where we need to find 5 blobs to open up the stone tusks around the opening to its guts. It's fun to see some of the things that have been swallowed by the Leviathan, including a plane, entire houses, and even an aqueduct. Hey, there's even a secret mission tucked away in the ship, and unless you've got Trickster equipped, this mission is one of the hardest to complete, as we get some of those buffed enemies from earlier, and they're very hard to kill quickly enough to not stop the elevator. Going through the creature's guts, you'll find yourself in its hardcore. However, you can't access it right away. Instead, you'll keep going through the guts, where Gigapede will return, similarly to the chase sequence in the original, where Phantom chases you down corridors. You'll eventually reach the Leviathan's eye, and steal its energy source, leading to the school segment where everything goes dark, as you make your way back to the core. The core itself is actually a boss fight, where you have to alternate between its lungs and its heart in order to kill it, as the armor around the heart only opens up once you make one of its lungs shrivel up. The core has very few attacks, however, it will spawn a bunch of hells to prevent you from damaging it, as you'll often deal with them blocking the attacks you deal. These hells are in fact the final type, Envy. These are extremely similar to the Hellpride, however, they aren't knocked into the air, and their death animation is different from others, as they liquefy rather than turn into sand. Strangely, instead of getting a cutscene of the beast dying once we defeat it, we instead cut back to Arkham and Virgil, as they make their way further into Temenagru. Arkham once again goes on a rant over the greatness of this tower, and Virgil is, as usual, very dismissive of him. After all, he is merely human, someone unworthy of attention in his eyes. He does, however, acknowledge Arkham seems distracted, possibly due to encountering his daughter.
The rage and agonies of the people. Those who were confined here, with their desires for evil being unfulfilled. It was all because Sparta slammed the door to the demon world in their faces.
What's wrong?
Nothing.
Mission 9's opening is where we see Leviathan dying, as it roars before falling from the sky, making a crash so loud even Virgil and Arkham can hear it deep within the tower. The Demon Hunter is just outside the tower where Leviathan landed, and she sees Dante cutting his way out through the eye, leaving him absolutely covered in blood. Waiting for Dante is a message from Jester, letting him know where to go next, showing how Jester is guiding Dante's actions behind the scenes. We now finally get a proper interaction between the two demon hunters, where Dante teases her a bit, and the two seem ready to fight it out, before teaming up to take on some hells. During this fight, Dante asks this woman what he should call her, and after she says she doesn't care, Dante says this.
Then what should I call you?
I don't care, whatever you want.
Whatever, lady.
And notice how that L is capitalized? Yup, that's right. Her name from now on in the series is Lady. So no, I haven't just been ambiguous about her name throughout the video. It's just that she doesn't like to use her real name, for reasons we are soon to discover. Dante leaves Lady to take care of the rest of the demons by herself, and with that, we start the mission proper. This is a fun one, as it involves moving this platform across the room to reach other parts of the tower, but to do so, we need some form of energy source to power it up. The first room we encounter in this section of the tower is the provision storeroom, and while it lacks provisions, it certainly doesn't lack in the spider department, as cobwebs fill the walls, with the room's center consisting of a massive cocoon made from the spider's silk, with innocent human victims dying, trying to free themselves from within. This is where we get introduced to a new enemy type, the Arachne. These are giant spiders, with their upper body features being humanoid, their forearms having turned into long bladed fangs. The main strategy to defeating these larger enemies is to stun them with Stinger, which gives you an opening to hit them with a barrage of fire attacks from Agni and Rudra, as the Arachne are weak to this element. Personally, I find these some of the more annoying enemies to deal with, but once you have their moves memorized, it's more fun fighting them, as you can easily increase your style rank by comboing them due to their larger health pool. The next area is the Subterranean Garden, where we are introduced to the recurring puzzle in this game, that being a light puzzle, where you require breaking certain statues in order to correctly reflect a light ray to its goal. This will open up the door to the subground water vein, one of the more recognizable areas, as you'll travel across this place multiple times. I love how in this very clearly underground room, you still have the moon, albeit a green one, shining on you, adding this to the list of camera shots I love in this game. What can I say? The MC3 knows how to use the moon to convey scale. After making it across the path, you'll reach the subterranean lake, where Spiral can be found, a sniper that deals significantly more damage than your other guns by sacrificing its fire rate. A weakness which you can easily overcome by rapidly switching between your firearms in between shots. Progressing will lead you to the other side of the provision storeroom, where once again you'll have to deal with the Arachne guarding the ambrosia, an item that is said to unlock the door to paradise. Going back to the subterranean lake, you'll realize you can't use this new item on anything around you, but searching a bit more closely will likely result in you finding a passageway behind a waterfall. Traversing through the limestone caves, you'll eventually come across a stone mural of a woman holding something, and wouldn't you know it, you can place the ambrosia here, revealing to you the sunken opera house. Here, you'll encounter your next boss.
Welcome, sir.
This is Navan, a mix between a vampire and a witch, as well as being YouTube monetization's biggest enemy. This beautiful devil lures Dante in with her sweet words, and Dante is clearly very into it, and while you may think this is the two of them talking about sex, don't forget this is Devil May Cry, and Dante is the forever virgin, so in fact they simply want to fight.
Come on, sugar.
I remember this fight being a bit difficult my first time through, as it relies a lot on memorizing audio cues, as her attacks are often too fast to react for a new player, which makes sense given that lightning is her element. Her melee attacks consist of using her black dress as a sharp weapon, while her ranged attacks use bats and electricity combined. You'll at first be stumped by this boss, as attacking her seems to deal no damage. However, you are in fact chipping away at her protection bubble, that being the clothing she's wearing, which is in fact made of bats. And yes, I do see the irony behind the method of defeating this clearly sexualized demon being that of removing more of her clothes. And all I have to say to that is, this is Capcom. Tiptoeing around nudity is not new for them. Once you remove most of the bats covering her, she'll be left exposed for a limited time, where you can deal damage. You'll have to repeat this process a handful of times, but be careful, as towards the end she will fake you out, by purposefully making herself vulnerable, and attempting to attack her then will only lead to her kissing you, as well as draining your health to recuperate hers. If you want to kill her faster, simply use Cerberus, as she is weaker to its ice damage. Once defeated, Navon will fall into Dante's arms, and attempt to trick him one last time. But Dante, being the Chad he is, puts a bullet through her instead. An action that would be tastefully recreated in the reboot, as Virgil shoots a pregnant hooker.
Fuck.
Way to go, Ninja Theory. Navon, much like the other bosses you faced, submits to Dante, and decides to aid him on his quest. And the weapon she turns to? Well, I'll just let you witness this one yourself.
But you're no slouch yourself.
Only Devil May Cry would have you use an electric guitar as a weapon for demon fighting. I'd say each game fully directed by Hideaki Itsuno has one of these over-the-top Dante scenes, specifically made to confuse those who haven't played the games. Anyway, enough of that, let's talk about Navon's moveset. Given that its role is much more of a support weapon, it functions very differently from the Devil Arms you are used to. First off, unless you have Swordmaster equipped, you're better off making this a ranged weapon, as its base combos consist of tuning up your guitar by holding triangle, and then releasing the bats forming around you as projectiles against nearby enemies. Some of the cooler things that can be done with this is the jam session, where you just play a sick riff while deploying an AoE attack. With Swordmaster, however, this becomes a completely different weapon, as the main body of the guitar shifts into a scythe, and you can use this up close as a melee weapon with more standard attacks. Fun fact, Navon is the only weapon to let you activate Air Raid while in DT mode, Air Raid being an ability from the first Devil May Cry, which allowed Dante to fly while in devil form. After playing around a bit with Navon, you'll leave the room and we'll cut back to Lady, whom we left to deal with that group of hells earlier on. And as you can probably tell, she's very much fine.
Welcome back.
Mission 10 starts off with Virgil and Arkham arriving at the final door on their path to the gateway between our world and the demon world. As he opens said door, Arkham starts yet another one of his rants, this time on the irony that Sparda's own son would be the one to lift the seal off this gateway, as that action was what gave Sparda his status as a legend for thousands of years.
His own son. It must be fate.
Arkham gives way for Virgil to move forward, but Virgil stops dead in the middle of his track, as he almost senses Arkham's hesitance due to his daughter. Arkham feigns ignorance, but Virgil doesn't buy it, and mortally wounds Arkham with Yamato, and tells Arkham that this attachment for his daughter is what deters him from achieving full power, and he has nothing of use left to give.
A devil as well. Knowing this, I thought you'd be more useful to me. But I was wrong. No wonder your attainment of power is incomplete.
Arkham chooses to twist this on him instead by calling Virgil incomplete due to the two different types of blood flowing through him. This is a fact that deeply upsets Virgil, as he breaks his usual stoicism for a childish shut up as he slices through Arkham's body. And this action tells us so much about Virgil's character. To start off with, it amplifies how Virgil's search for power does indeed come from a childish place, as like I've said previously, this lust for power originates from his childhood trauma of having to protect himself from a horde of demons by himself, as he believes he has been abandoned by his parents, and the lessons he takes from that is, I need power to protect myself, which heavily contrasts with Dante in two main ways throughout the games. The first one is in this very game, as Virgil's quest for embracing his demonic side and locking away his humanity directly contrasts with Dante's rejection of his demonic side and wanting to instead become more human. Secondly, it contrasts with Dante's ideology from the first game. I need power to seek revenge, as the only time where he really lets loose is when he has a shot at killing Mundus, thus avenging his parents. These two elements combined make Virgil the perfect foil for Dante, as despite growing up the same, given that they are twins, a singular day completely altered their perspective on their purpose in life, with one brother selfishly using his power to protect himself, and the other, while most of the time is selfless, does still have his own selfish revenge quest for which he needs this power. Overall, I just love how this short childish outburst reveals so much more about this otherwise cold, precise character. Virgil then walks away and leaves Arkham to die in a pool of his own blood, a choice he'd very soon come to regret. Returning to Dante, we'll be able to acquire the Stone Mask, which, if you remember, was exactly what we needed back at the subterranean lake. So once we make our way back there, we'll be able to reach the large statue in the middle of the lake, and get the Neo Generator, a power source perfect for the bridge. Don't leave quite just yet though, as tucked away in the corner is another secret mission, which is perfect for testing out that new air raid ability you just unlocked for Navan. The rest of the mission basically consists of you backtracking to the bridge at the start, with the only new addition being these levitating enemies called the Dullahan. They are immune to all attacks unless your hits strike the red gem on their back. I don't really like these enemies, as it's basically a waiting game to be able to progress. Once you reach the bridge, Dante will carefully place the energy source in its spot by gently booting it into place. Going through this new door actually leads to where Virgil stabbed Arkham, as we see him laying on the ground, presumably dead. Given that Dante had to go through a substantial number of things before reaching this area, it allows Lady to catch up to him pretty quickly. She greets him with a bullet as she thinks he just murdered her father, a task she wanted to complete herself. Dante, unaware of the fact that these two are related, keeps up his act of being carefree, which just upsets Lady even further. The pair clash once again, in a stunningly choreographed fight, as the track Lady's Past begins playing, a beautiful remix of the choir section of Devils Never Cry.
Becoming the devil so much he killed his own wife. For that he butchered innocent people too. He's the most vile kind of creature. come is my father.
Well, we have something in common. I have a dysfunctional family too.
And what would you know about family? You're a demon. This is my father. My family. This was all supposed to end by my hand.
This scene is the perfect setup for where these two characters end up at the end of the game. The two now see part of themselves in one another, but Lady, still holding on to her trauma and grief, won't accept that someone could ever feel the same as her, let alone a demon of all things. Despite this, however, she lets Dante go. Maybe because she wants to mourn her father, but maybe also because she's starting to see that Dante is something more than just another demon. Starting mission 11, we'll see that Arkham is still alive, but barely hanging on by a thread. His voice and demeanor change completely, as he now sounds like a frightened child, questioning where he is, as he, for some reason, can't see anything. After hearing Lady's voice, Arkham will call out for her by her real name, Mary. He then asks where Lady's mother is, which angers her, as she now cocks the hammer and reminds him that he killed his own wife. Arkham seems to recall this now, as he tells his daughter that he killed her mother with his own hands. I'd also like to point out that despite Lady's anger and drive to avenge her mother, her hands still tremble when raising her gun at her father, showing that she still sees her father behind the monstrosities he's committed. In a completely out of character way, Arkham begins showing remorse for what he did, calling himself weak for succumbing to his influence. And that's when you should piece together what his play is. He's trying to get his daughter back on his side by lying and claiming to have been coerced into doing all these things by Virgil. And surprisingly, Lady actually listens to him, even going as far as kneeling down beside him to comfort him during his last moments, and making it her new mission to stop Virgil. Arkham dies in a very melodramatic way, almost rehearsed to an extent.
Sparta, I thought he was a myth.
If the demons return, this world will be thrown into chaos. Stop him. Stop Virgil.
Me?
You're such a sweet child. Just like your mother.
Father! Father! Virgil.
The start of this mission is classic Devil May Cry. You'll wander through a few rooms and solve some small puzzles, such as making a statue cry blood, as well as getting introduced to a new enemy type, these being the Soul Eaters. These creatures will only attach themselves while you look away, as facing them in combat will lead to them turning into a gas, and stop you from damaging them. In my opinion, the best way to counter them is the Spiral, as its high damage output means you require to get less shots in to kill them. Later on, you'll fight these alongside the Hell Vanguard in order to show the player how powerful they've become, as the starting boss is now closer to a standard enemy for Dante. The halfway point of the mission is marked by the Temperance Wagon, a set piece where the player will be forced to fight waves of enemies on a moving platform as you make your way to the final destination of this mission, the Torture Chamber. On the steps leading up to this room is a divinity statue, so you know what that means. It's boss fight time, so please prepare yourself, as the fight you're about to face is one of the most challenging ones. So, who is it you're about to fight? I'll let the big guy introduce himself.
Poor thing. Didn't your mother ever teach you how to use a door? Huh? Give me a break. Tell you what, next time I'll try and wear some cologne, okay?
It's the stench of betrayal. The odor of that accursed Sparta. I will annihilate every last blood relation of Sparta!
A son cleaning up his dad's mess, huh? Where have I heard this story before?
This is Beowulf. If this is your first time playing the game, good luck, as I personally found him to be the second hardest fight in the game on my first playthrough. Beowulf breaks the convention of large enemies being slow in fights, as he moves swiftly when striking you. His fighting style is that of a brawler, throwing hooks and kicks your way when you're up close. Once enough damage is dealt, he'll trigger his second phase by erupting a pillar of light around him and revealing his wings. This new phase includes the attacks you've already seen during the first phase, plus a handful more. The main one you'll see is Rush, where he'll roar at Dante and begin chasing him on all fours. After doing this a few times, he'll likely try to pounce you, as well as stomp to the ground in order to let cages drop from the ceiling. Cages which he can very easily launch at the player, so be careful with those. Finally, a rarer attack you may see is one where if the player tries to keep their distance from Beowulf in order to do chip damage from afar, he will actually spread his wings and fire a volley of projectiles multiple times at the player, leading to an almost guaranteed hit. The main strategy for beating Beowulf is to strike his only working eye, as this will stun him for a small time frame, allowing you to get a few good hits in him before he recovers. Be careful though, as immediately after his eye is struck, he'll flail his arms directly in front of him, meaning you'll want to hit him from the back. Furthermore, I've also found that during the sections where he launches cages at you, you can easily run around these and hit him while he is still stuck in his animation for launching the next one. Before we finish off this fight, I just want to point out how cool the arena for this fight is. First, there's the name, which could be seen as a joke from the developers, as this fight feels like torture your first time around, especially if you made the mistake of choosing the mode where death means you start the entire mission over. Second, the room itself looks great given the graphical limitations of the PS2. The spikes and the lava combine to really give the impression that you should stay well away from this place. Once you defeat Beowulf, Dante will throw Rebellion in such a way where it will slice through his remaining eye, which in turn ends the fight, as Beowulf is left with no other options other than to run or die. He does, however, swear to return and hunt you down, as he now has the scent of your blood. For now, however, this is the last time we see him. Ending the mission, we return to the Marble Thruway, where we get the not-so-surprising reveal that Arkham may very well still be alive, as his body is gone, with the only remaining traces of him being his book and a trail of blood. Mission 12 will open with Dante acquiring the second Neo Generator. This time, however, it's gone haywire, which seems to both fatigue and harm Dante, as he falls to his knees, still clutching onto it. And would you look at that, right on cue Jester shows up again, to help you out. He seems to find your situation amusing, as he probably expected one of Sparta's sons to be able to hand this generator. This angers Dante, as he grabs him and threatens him with Ebony. Jester then proceeds to give my favorite line in the whole game.
You're not going to shoot me, are you? If you do, I'll die. You know?
Despite being annoyed by him, Dante lets Jester go in order to get more information. Jester then casually breaks the fourth wall before turning to Dante and explaining what the purpose of the Tenement Gru actually is. A tunnel of sorts that bridges the demon and human world. And of course, Virgil already has the activation key, as he took Dante's amulet during their last fight. Dante asks why he's telling him all this, given that he seemingly stands to gain nothing from helping him out. And Jester completely avoids the question, and instead explains the gimmick of this mission for us, as the device we are holding will slowly drain the players of their health until they make it back to the rotating bridge. The only upside being you are permanently in your DT mode throughout. Jester then breaks the fourth wall one last time as he heads off, writing a literal number 12, as that's the mission we are on. Once you make your way back to the bridge, you'll have gained access to the spiral corridor, where you can find another Jester fight. This fight is essentially a repeat of the first one, but Jester is now a bit more powerful, and has also gained one new ability, which is to summon a giant smiling ball which he will ride and attack with. This makes attacking him during his final phase slightly tougher, as the ball will explode if you try to attack him before he is stunned. The best styles to use in this fight are Swordmaster or Trickster, as they're both useful for this last phase to help the player dodge and get some hits in. Now, to finish off the mission, you'll head to the Underground Arena, where you'll be able to fight Geryon, one of the cooler bosses in the series. This flaming blue horse is part of a race of demonic horses, capable of manipulating time itself. Being pulled by Geryon is a giant hearse made of dark steel, perfectly encapsulating the gothic feel of these games. The first phase of this fight takes place on this narrow path, where you'll play chicken with the charging horse. He'll run from one side to the other, and then teleport to repeat the attack. After 4 charges, he'll stand still for a few seconds, allowing the player to stagger him and deal heavy damage. You can also achieve this by hitting him with a precise move to the head mid-charge. Once enough damage has been done, you'll trigger his second phase, where the ground will break beneath the both of you, and you'll land in a gladiator coliseum of sorts, which gets Dante really excited to start the real fight.
First chicken, now gladiator. This just keeps getting better and better. Too bad there's nobody here to enjoy the show!
The second phase is a lot more intense, as Geryon will gain a multitude of new moves. First off is a circular run around the arena, firing missiles from his carriage. After a while, he'll charge towards you and stomp the ground, sending blue flames towards you. When doing this, it gives you the perfect opportunity for you to jump on his hearse and do some heavy damage with Cerberus, as ice is one of its weaknesses. This will likely lead to Geryon becoming enraged and use even more new moves. These display Geryon's time manipulation ability, as he can fire orbs of Quicksilver, which will heavily slow down the player's movement, allowing the horse to get an easy hit on you. Finally, he'll begin using his orbs while doing his run around the arena, and this time, if you get trapped in them, you'll be hit by spears he summons to hit you. Overall, this is a greatly designed fight, and one of my favorites. It's not particularly tough, however if you do die, it is a tad bit boring having to go all the way down the steps and redoing the chicken section, as it involves a lot of waiting. But it's still a very fun fight nevertheless. Once defeated, Geryon's soul will exit his body and enter Dante's. He thinks nothing of this and begins making his way out. However, we see some rubble from the fight is about to fall on top of him, and at the last possible second, it gets frozen in time. That's right, Dante has just gained a new style, Quicksilver. This style is very different from the rest, as it actually costs a resource to activate. While with other styles you are able to use their moves whenever you want, in order to activate Quicksilver's new move, you'll actually use up your DT notches, as they'll begin to drain. So what can you do with Quicksilver, you may ask? Well, tapping the style button now will allow Dante to snap his fingers, invert the colors of the world, and make everything around him move at a fraction of their speed, whilst he himself remains unaffected. This is great for setting up combos, however I never found myself using this style very often, due to its costly price. One way to get around this is by unlocking Super Legendary Dark Knight bonus costume, which grants the player with an infinite amount of Devil Trigger, turning this style into a more reliable one for your future playthroughs. But with that, we leave the arena, and see what Virgil is up to as he enters the Lair of Judgment, his final destination for breaking the seal between the two worlds. Before he can get to the seal, however, he is interrupted by Beowulf, who mistakes him for Dante now that he is blind and can only rely on his sense of smell. Virgil, without saying a single word, leaps above his attack and strikes him in a single motion. This leads Beowulf to realize that Sparta actually had two sons, a mistake that cost him his life. So yeah, Virgil kinda just steals the kill from Dante, and gains Beowulf's devil arm for himself here. These are a set of gauntlets and greaves that provide the user with insane strength and agility, something that Virgil is more than happy to demonstrate, as this weapon is more than fitting for his combat style. And as we get a glimpse of what we are about to face ourselves, the mission ends. We open Mission 13 right where we left off, with Virgil about to unseal the tunnel between the worlds. He unites the two amulets, creating the perfect amulet, which we first saw in Devil May Cry 1, and lets it fall through the light. He then uses Yamato to spill some of his own blood, and with that, the ritual is complete. As Dante, you'll spend a large chunk of this mission traveling between corridors full of possessed chess pieces in order to acquire the key to the Lair of Judgment. This may seem a bit boring, but that's because this serves as the preamble to the real start of the mission, walking through the two large doors and facing Virgil inside. Stepping inside, we get another iconic line as Virgil shouts out of frustration, something uncharacteristic of him. Dante picks up on this as he surprises Virgil. The pair discuss the intentions behind the amulet, and Dante tells him that he doesn't really care one way or another, and draws his sword, asking Virgil if he has time for another game.
Good plan, Pop. Just the opposite, actually. Originally, it was the key to the demon world, but was given to humans as a gift.
It doesn't matter to me one way or the other. More importantly, I've come all this way. I'm sure you have time for one more game, right?
And now we get a sequence of events that I only picked up on my second time through. Virgil finds this invite to a challenge amusing, as he still sees Dante as vastly inferior. And so, instead of choosing to use Yamato, a weapon he's familiar and skilled with, he instead opts for Beowulf, as he is looking to entertain himself with this fight, even claiming that if the ritual needed more blood, he would simply use some from Dante. At first, I simply thought this was to showcase the new weapon he just earned, and while yes, it is mostly served as good game design, it also functions to reveal that Virgil is feeling very cocky going into this fight, making what happens during their battle even more satisfying. Right, time for the fight itself. As I've said, Virgil will start off using Beowulf as his offense, with Yamato's only role being deflecting any bullets the player chooses to shoot at him. Beowulf's moveset consists of up-close melee attacks. These include a basic combo of 2 punches and a whirlwind kick, an attack called Starfall where Virgil will perform a diving kick from mid-air, Lunar Phase, which is a downward revolving kick, and finally Rising Sun, an attack that consists of a series of hits, sending the player upwards and likely locking him into then being attacked by Starfall right after. And while yes, a new moveset, especially one for Virgil, would be more than enough for a fight against the weaker Dante, Virgil is not yet aware that you too have fully unlocked your demonic side, and so activating Devil Trigger will be more than enough to finish off Virgil's first phase. Doing this will make Virgil realize he needs to use his own DT in order to keep up with you. However, this is once again not enough, and now Virgil is fighting a losing battle, as he lost his advantage during the first half of this fight, and so, in order to compensate, he goes back to using Yamato, alongside activating his Devil Trigger. But we've already fought this Virgil once before. I mean, sure, he's stronger while having his DT active, but as long as you use your own, or avoid his attacks, the rest of this fight should be relatively easy, and with that, this time around, we actually manage to draw with him, as Lady interrupts the brothers' fight. This is one of the best cutscenes in the whole game for me, due to it finally tying all the threads of the plot together, as this is the first time we'll see all the characters interacting with one another. Lady tries to attack Virgil, blaming him for putting her father under his control. But Virgil almost mocks the idea, as it was obvious that Arkham was acting under his own free will. Lady, taken aback by this, steps away from the fight for a few seconds, and you can see the gears turning in her mind as she begins piecing together what really happened. However, it's too late now, as the brothers have struck and wounded each other, and from the shadows, we hear someone begin clapping.
Bravo! Bravo! I never dreamed that things would go so smoothly. Well done, everyone. Well done.
You.
Don't be a bad girl, Mary. Or you can expect a spanking from Daddy later. Jester's gonna spank you, but spank you underbar.
Buffoon! I don't know where you came from, but you don't belong here.
Now leave! Zowie, that was close.
Jester mocks Virgil, saying the attack might have worked had he not tired himself out in this fight. And now, they're really just dangling the twist in front of you. Jester launches Virgil away, and we finally get the truth revealed. Jester and Arkham are one and the same. And they've set all of this up in order to open the gate for themselves, with Dante and Virgil both being too weak to now stop him. This explains almost everything in the story so far, from why Jester would willingly help out Dante, to why his body disappeared at the end of Mission 11, as he was in fact trying to get to Dante back in Mission 12. The only piece of the puzzle still missing is why Arkham tricked his own daughter into going after Virgil. It's not like she'd be of any use in slowing Virgil down like Dante did. Well, that's also about to get revealed to us now, as Arkham tells us there is one final key. Turns out, Sparta sacrificed a woman in order to seal the gate, and more blood is in fact needed to break the spell. It just so happens that it's not Virgil's, or Dante's, that's needed, but rather one from a descendant of the sacrificed woman. And who may that descendant be? Arkham's own daughter.
Things to suppress the tremendous force of this tower. His own devil's blood and a mortal priestess. I needed you, in whose body flows the same blood as the sacrificed woman. His spell cannot be undone without your blood.
It was quite a ride, you know. If any of you had died before getting here, our little plan would have gone to waste. Ha! Therefore, my job was to make you battle each other in order to weaken you. But at the same time, I had to guide you here and make sure that you were kept alive. I even went so far as dressing like a complete idiot. It's time for bed, Mary. You can visit your dear mother. Whoa!
Try me.
As he finishes revealing his scheme, Arkham gets surrounded by all three of them. Lady, Virgil, and Dante all together tell him it's over. Arkham is impressed they still have the strength to fight, but it matters not, for the ritual has been completed. And Arkham tells us,
Let's welcome chaos.
as the altar begins erecting itself out of the ground. Arkham takes advantage of this in order to sweep kick all three of them, and then performs a second kick to launch them off the altar, allowing him to rise by himself.
Just sit and wait. Wait for the birth of a new god. I shall take over the power of Sparta!
Virgil seemingly falls into the void, while Dante stops Lady from meeting the same demise, once again proving to her that despite being a devil, he has plenty of humanity in him. They failed, however, as the seal has now been broken, and the gate to hell can be opened. We open mission 14 right where we left off, as Arkham rises to the top of Temenegru on his altar. And we get one of the coolest details of this game, as along the way the altar will pick up statues of the 7 deadly sins, which you have actually encountered in previous missions as decorations. Back on the ground, Dante warns Lady against going after Arkham, but Lady tells him it's her responsibility to undo his crimes. She uses her RPG to grapple away, but before leaving tells Dante that he wouldn't understand as he's a demon. Dante, being intrigued by the parallels with his own family, decides to tag along for the pursuit of Arkham. The camera pans over to the hole Virgil fell in, and given we can't see its bottom, it's safe to say Virgil will be put out of commission for a little while. Heading towards said hole once you gain control of Dante, you'll be able to pick up Beowulf, the final devil arm of the game. The moves granted by this weapon are those Virgil used on you, plus a handful more. Some highlights include a new combo where you're able to send out a flurry of kicks, as well as Real Impact, which combines your Rising Dragon ability with an AoE pull effect, being very useful for launching enemies in the air and damaging them at the same time. After crossing the ruins of the room you're in, you'll be able to take an elevator to what looks to be the subterranean lake. You'll be able to backtrack from here to the Temperance Wagon. However, this time around, it leads you elsewhere, to a series of rooms called Hell's Highway, and this place truly is hell, as you'll very slowly progress through these gates by killing more and more chess pieces. After killing a few rooms worth of chess pieces, you'll be rewarded with another blue orb fragment, and the exit to this place. Following a path you've been down before, you'll find a mysterious rift that sends you back to the starting strip club. And as luck would have it, just outside by the entrance of the tower, Lady's motorcycle is just about ready to fall down to you. Dante uses Cerberus as a cool grapple. Get it? Cool. Anyway, he pulls himself onto the bike, and we end the mission with an awesome cutscene of Dante riding his way up, whilst breaking every conceivable law of physics. And surprisingly enough, this isn't the last time we'll see Dante use a motorcycle as a weapon. Mission 15 opens with a short cutscene, just reminding us that Lady is slowly but surely scaling the entire tower, which also displays her determination to put an end to her father's actions. Okay, time to start Mission 15. This is personally one of my least favorites, as I don't really like the gimmick of this level. First, we get introduced to one of the final new enemies in the game, named the Fallen. These are angelic-looking flying enemies, but don't let the pretty glowing wings fool you. These are very much still demons, as they have a crude appearance once their wings are shattered, and their real heads are revealed on their stomachs. These demons are annoying to deal with as they can phase through walls, and their wings will prevent you from dealing damage for most of the time when they circle you. Making your way back to Leviathan's corpse, you can activate a switch, which in turn reveals a bunch of colored switches around the map. What do these switches do, you may ask? Well, as I'm sure you've noticed by now, there are multiple doors you've gone through with the same symbol on them. So basically, the gimmick of this level is every time you activate a switch, the entire tower will rotate, and each door will lead somewhere new. This mission boils down to revisiting a lot of old rooms to get to these hallways, where at the end you'll find a part of an item you need to progress. When I replayed this mission for the video, I got so bored I decided to backtrack through the entire game just to be able to show how interconnected the whole map is. which hopefully you should be seeing at like 10 times speed as I wrap up this mission. Once you've gathered all the pieces and take the elevator up, you'll get to catch up on what Arkham is doing. He begins reciting a ritual where he calls upon the 7 sealed sins. Above him the skies begin to swirl and form a vortex as the statues of the sins turn out to be tolling bells. A quick thing I want to point out about this is that the portal to hell leads out to the sky rather than underground, and the image we see is that of a cathedral of sorts, which really adds to the theme that the Devil May Cry universe has no heaven, only hell and earth, as the only angels we've seen thus far are merely demons posing as such.
Then I will become the ultimate ruler of this wasteland, engulfed with pandemonium. The demonic power that Sparta once imprisoned will be
Starting mission 16, we see Dante's Devil Trigger begin triggering itself on its own, as the seal between worlds is broken, perhaps indicating that it's trying to protect Dante. This doesn't go anywhere though, so we'll leave it for now. In order to keep climbing to Arkham, you'll need to open the gate to where you fought Cerberus. So you know what that means, time to backtrack a bit to get some new items. This section is much better than the last mission though, as 1, it's not nearly as long, and 2, you get some cool new things, like swinging these metal balls against each other to break them open, or fighting new and tougher chess pieces. Once the gate is open, you'll be able to climb up to where you got Artemis, and if you fail to collect it all the way back in mission 6, you'll be able to collect it now, without the extra challenge. Reaching the incandescent space once again, you'll see the tower has begun fracturing itself, with bright white light seeping through the cracks and rising through the gears. Going inside the Great Library, you'll meet up with a tired lady, and Dante tells her to hang back. This upsets her, and she draws her gun on Dante. Dante forces her to pull the trigger on him, showing that she cannot stop a stronger demon on her own, and she explains to him that she won't let that stop her, as she is driven by her screaming soul, and that Dante should stay out of it since it's a family matter. Dante says he won't just sit back and watch, as he too is pissed, but in reality, he also does not want to see Lady get hurt or die trying. So in order to save her, we have to fight her. Lady is a really easy boss fight, given she's only human, and even while holding back, Dante's attacks probably still hurt like hell. So rather than attacking you head on, Lady will always do it from a range, meaning this fight is more of a chase around the circular room as you hit her a couple of times before she can grapple away. Not much else to say here other than the next cutscene being great, as both of them realize their goals have changed. It starts off with a fatigued lady continuously pulling the trigger even after running out of bullets, showing her desperation to prove she can keep up and finish her mission. Dante calms her down and tells her he will take care of it. Lady, puzzled by this, asks Dante why he cares, and Dante explains how at first he didn't, but due to Lady, he now knows he needs to bring this demon to justice the same way Sparta did with Mundus. You could even call this as being Dante's awakening. Huh? Whatever. Lady, seeing this devil possess a human soul after all, decides to lend her rocket launcher in exchange for his name.
That's what my soul is telling me to do.
Use this.
How much is it gonna cost me?
You can give me your name.
Dante.
Dante. Please. Free my father.
I will, lady.
We end this mission with Dante getting closer to the top of Temenegru. Mission 17 opens up with Arkham in this purple dimension of sorts, where he finds the Force Edge from the first Devil May Cry game. He combines the amulets with the sword, which should in theory unlock the blade's full power as the Sparta Devil Arm, but strangely it doesn't turn into it. This is possibly due to Arkham's lack of power to wield such a weapon, something which is mentioned again in Devil May Cry 5, when a character is deemed too weak to effectively use Sparta himself. One of the opening sections of this mission is the mandatory Devil May Cry platforming section, this time with rotating platforms, making it hellish to climb upwards without air hike or Trickster's upgraded style. One thing this room has going for it though, is its color scheme and design, as it's one of the few rooms that stuck with me long after I've played it. Here we also get the final Jester fight, which adds nothing new other than a small difficulty spike. Just like the last few Jester fights, this one is optional, but definitely worth beating to get red orbs and style XP. You'll then go through the trial chambers from way back in Mission 6, and you use a jump pad to reach the pitch black void, meaning you're only a handful of rooms away from the top. And here we get the final lesser demon of this game, the Abyss. These guys are the Hells on steroids. They're stronger, faster, hell, they can even teleport, and their appearance is just so much more imposing, as the flames erupt from their scythes, and their skin has this animation of pulsating veins. Their attacks are an amalgamation of previous Hells, making them some of the toughest lesser demons. Whilst you may expect to now arrive at the top of the tower, you're instead faced with a wall of black fog, leading to a boss fight. A mechanic From Software would shamelessly steal 4 years later. Just kidding though, please don't unleash the Souls community on me. Entering the fog will lead to a new room with bright lights on the wall. The lights will start flickering as your shadow in Devil Trigger form becomes a physical entity and challenges you to a fight. This is Doppelganger, a unique boss fight which is able to copy some of your moves, such as your base Rebellion moveset, your Trickster style, and even mimicking your Beowulf attacks, but replacing its light with darkness instead. While you may try and attack him directly at first, you will quickly realize Doppelganger seems to be invulnerable. That is when he's in the shadows, because once you turn on all the lights in the room, Doppelganger will become vulnerable, indicated by him losing his Devil Trigger form and becoming the shadow of Dante's human form. You can also achieve this by baiting him into attacking you next to one of the lights as you turn it on, as the sudden brightness will stun him, but only for a short time. To counteract you lighting up the whole room, Doppelganger will throw a ball of darkness to shut off any lit panels, meaning you have to choose between getting some quick hits in by baiting him, or attempt a longer stun by lighting up the panels faster than he can shut them off. As you can probably imagine, Beowulf is the best weapon to use here, as its light-infused attacks deal extra damage to Doppelganger. Once defeated, Doppelganger will return to being your shadow, as well as granting you with the final style of the game, adequately named Doppelganger. Using this style allows you to produce a mirror image of yourself, at the expense of some DT. You can set this after image of yours at different lag times from your moves, meaning you can not only double up on damage, but simultaneously use 2 attacks on an enemy, such as having your after image and yourself alternate between a guard breaker of sorts and a damage heavy attack. Fun fact, connecting a second controller will actually allow you to play this game in co-op mode, as long as the after image is active, meaning if you have permanent DT by unlocking some of the extra skins, once you beat the game, you can get a buddy of yours and play this game together as a couch co-op, which I myself find really cool and took advantage of. But now we've reached the top, so it's time to see just what Arkham has opened up for us on the other side. Again, I find it really cool that you ascend into hell rather than fall into it. It's just a neat visual. And just like in Devil May Cry 1, you'll probably be taken aback by how angelic hell looks, with pure white light illuminating what seems to be a giant cathedral, making this room very similar to Mundus's throne room, possibly hinting at the fact that most major demons see themselves as the righteous ones, and humans as the inferior beings. Moving forward, the ground will build itself around you, guiding you to this small portal, and heading through, you'll find one of the cooler fights in this game, as they place you on an actual chessboard with every chess-themed enemy you faced up until this point. And you guessed it, taking out the king will end the fight early, but due to the large number of enemies, it may be strategic to destroy some of the more annoying pieces before focusing your attention on the king. Again, you'll pass through another angelic room, but this time you're led into the Lost Souls Nirvana, a really well designed room which takes heavy inspiration from MC Escher's famous Relativity, where you'll defy gravity by moving up, down and sideways on staircases to reach these scattered gravestones. Interacting with these will lead you to fight a boss you've previously defeated, and each time you defeat one, their corresponding gemstone will light up in the central monolith. Lighting up enough gemstones in a circle will create a portal to progress, essentially making this a boss rush. Each boss has a revamped arena, with the pure light from hell being present in all of them. The quickest way to form the portal is by defeating Cerberus, Agni and Rudra, and Beowulf. However, defeating every single boss will earn you the final blue warp fragment in the game. And if you've been collecting all of them up until now, you should now have maxed out your health at 2 full health bars, which, believe it or not, only allow you to resist a handful of attacks from the final boss. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, as now we get to see what Arkham is up to, and he seems to be having some fun with his new sword. Looking at his eyes, they now glow in the colors of the two brothers, blue and red, representing how he has combined the amulets of the two to attain this newfound power. A power which we are about to witness as he turns himself into what seems to be the legendary Dark Knight himself. Oh boy, I can't wait to fight this cool boss who seems to be similar to Nello Angelo. Mission 19 brings us back to the Divine Library, where Lady hears someone walk past her, and looking up, she sees the door leading up the tower swing open. Right, time to see where that portal led us, and holy shit, we're in End of Evangelion! This room is called the Room of Fallen Ones, and it is my favorite, not only in this game, but probably the entire series, only rivaled by the Void in DMC5. I mean, it just looks awesome! When you fight multiple of the Abyss in this bloodied water, with the statues of fallen angels as ruins stretch out as far as the eye can see. I mean, seriously, Devil May Cry has an aesthetic that's extremely difficult to rival, and that's why I often find myself thinking about this game whenever I think of what a Devil May Cry game should look like. Moving through yet another portal, we'll find ourselves in the Nirvana of Illusions, a room full of mirrors, where all the enemies are invulnerable, where instead of hitting them, you actually have to hit their reflections in order to open up the next portal. Heading through, we'll arrive at Infinity Nirvana, a semicircular platform with a giant rotating hourglass in the middle. To progress here, you'll have to defeat the Abyss before time runs out, and take the key item back to the Nirvana of Illusions in order to restore the rift to the end. And the game makes it pretty clear this is the finish line, as the room is classed End of the Line, informing the player this is their last chance to go back for any items they need, or purchase any necessary actions before heading through those doors and into the giant amalgamation of buildings in front of them. Heading through, you'll find yourself in the Forbidden Nirvana, and as I am sure you have noticed, many of these rooms have Nirvana in the name, once again suggesting hell is the real place of enlightenment in this world. Arkham has been waiting for you, and tries to get a sneak attack in, but Dante effortlessly parries this, and pushes Arkham away. We now get a better look at this Sparta form we're about to fight, which Dante mocks as is usual from him. This causes Arkham to start laughing and transform into his real form, which should be even cooler, right?
My father wasn't so hideous. Can't you tell by looking at me?
Yeah, I'm with Dante on this one, as I was promised a cool boss fight, not some giant purple blob. This boss fight may be the only thing I dislike in this entire game, as I find it baffling that the devs thought we preferred this fight over a cool sword fight with a version of Sparta. This boss is really lackluster, and he has a total of, drumroll please, 2 moves. A tentacle swipe, a larger tentacle swipe, and technically the third move of summoning minions. Yep, it's one of those boss fights. You basically just wait around the entire time, cash in some heavy damage, fight some of his minions, rinse and repeat. The only redeeming quality about this fight is about halfway through you'll get a cutscene of Virgil joining the fight.
I've come to retrieve my power. You can't handle it.
Look at you, making a big dramatic entrance and stealing my spotlight.
What? You don't possibly believe that he deserves to be our main event now, do you?
Now that you mention it, you're right.
You should come to realize you cannot control the power.
Finally, the two brothers stand together, even if but for a moment. They put aside their differences and decide to fight together, as they can at least both agree that Arkham is undeserving of Sparta's power. Playing the rest of the boss fight, Virgil will replace whatever style you had in use, and he will work very similarly to Doppelganger, but using his own moveset rather than yours. And you guessed it, plugging in a second controller will let you play as Virgil in this fight, turning this half of the fight from boring to awesome. If only the entire fight was like this, maybe it would be a bit better. The Brothers United make quick work of Arkham, even switching weapons in the process. Dante whips out Ebony and Ivory for the final blow, but Arkham knocks one of the guns away, leading to the most iconic moment in the entire series.
Remember what we used to say? Jackpot.
Not very classy for someone's dying words.
As Arkham melts away, Force Edge and the two amulets drop back down the hole, and the two brothers race to get them, each grabbing their own amulet mid-fall. Alright, this is it. The final mission. And I got a lot to say about this one, so get comfortable. We open atop the tower, with the camera panning over to show Lady has finally reached the top. As she looks around at the now still bells, we see Arkham falling from hell, a clear reverse of a fallen angel. We hear his body hit the ground, and surprisingly, he's still alive. And even now, he's still obsessed with becoming a god, as he crawls in his own pool of blood, but is stopped by Lady as she holds him at gunpoint.
What a surprise. Here I was looking for you, and lo and behold, you come to me.
Mary.
Don't ever call me that again. My mother was the only one who could say my name.
Once Arkham sees Lady won't even allow him to call her by her real name, he attempts to play on her emotions once again. Unfortunately for him, Lady still won't budge, which causes him to snap and show us who he really is.
What have I done wrong? Even heroic Sparta sacrificed a woman so that he could become a legend. I wish to be a god! And I sacrificed one miserable human being for that reason. That is all. Was that really so awful? I have have some unfinished business to take care of. Help me, Mary.
Mary died a long time ago. My name is Lady. Goodbye, Father.
No!
Arkham is dead. Lady falls to the ground, and her hysterical laugh turns into crying as she comes to grip with how she just killed her father. The crying, as we know, representing her humanity, providing a stark contrast between the two family members, as Arkham felt he was in the right for murdering his wife, whilst Lady feels awful for having to put a stop to her father.
There, I thought I wasn't gonna cry.
I haven't really spoken about the names of the missions themselves throughout this video, but this one is something I have to point out. Screaming Souls. This title is important for two reasons. The first is that this is a direct parallel to how Lady spoke of her drive to stop her father back at the library, showing us that Dante now feels the same way about Virgil, and shows us that he does have a soul. And the second reason this title is important is the plurality of the word souls, suggesting that his brother may be able to be saved after all. I also love how the meaning of the second line changes once you've beaten the game, as you'll soon find out this time, this isn't Dante's objective. We open with the brothers and Force Edge landing on a now flooded Hellgate. They both reach for Force Edge, but Virgil is faster. He orders Dante to hand him his half of the amulet, so Dante decides to be childish, something which Virgil actually plays into. Dante tries to convince Virgil to stop what he's doing, by telling him his goal is pointless. This baits Virgil into an attack, which Dante defends by forcing a standstill between the twins, by making the two of them grab each other's blades with their bare hands, their only defense being the gloves they're wearing. Dante tries to appeal to Virgil's soul, which amuses him as he laughs and delivers one of the most iconic moments in the franchise.
And now, my soul is saying it wants to stop you!
Unfortunately, our souls are at odds, brother. I need more power.
And we're supposed to be twins.
Twin.
And as the music crescendos, the fight begins. This is it, the final fight in the game, Virgil 3. And disappoint will it not, as this fight is by far the toughest in the game. Let's just say you should get ready to hear Virgil say scum hundreds of times before you manage to kill him. By far, the coolest part of the fight is Virgil's use of Force Edge being the same moves you could perform as Dante in DMC1, perhaps suggesting this fight was left ingrained in Dante's mind to the point where he memorized Virgil's moves and took them as his own. I mean, sure, you also have those moves with Rebellion, but let me have this. After all, if you want to get into specifics, Dante managed to forget his iconic Stinger move 4 separate times. This fight requires insane reaction times, as Virgil will rely a lot on teleporting near you to attack, or directly above you with a Helm Breaker. Furthermore, Virgil will make heavy use of his Devil Trigger, frequently switching in and out of it in order to heal. My tip for the first half of this fight is focus on dodging whenever he attacks, with Round Trip or any Devil Trigger attack, and focus on offense whenever he uses Judgment Cut, and once he sheathes his sword. The second half is a bit more difficult, so I tend to switch to Devil Trigger at the same time as him. That way I can knock him out of it more quickly and stop him from healing too much. And finally, in the last quarter to the fight, we get to see an early version of one of gaming's most iconic moves, Judgment Cut End. You can tell this is the first time Virgil is using it, as it is a lot less refined, where instead of performing all the slashes simultaneously, they instead fill up the screen randomly, meaning you can still dodge this. This feels akin to Dante's own unrefined Devil Trigger explosion, as Virgil is likely lashing out, using his power in order to create this move. If you successfully dodge this, you're in the home stretch. Simply combo him a couple more times, and you've done it. This comes as a shock to Virgil, and Dante taunts him into one final attack as the Hellgate collapses around him, leading to the most beautiful sequence in the game.
Come on, get up. You can do better than that.
The portal to the human world is closing, Dante. Because the amulets have been separated.
Let's finish this, Virgil. I have to stop you. Even if that means killing you.
Although defeated, Virgil still refuses to give up his amulet, saying it belongs to a son of Sparta as he approaches the precipice. Virgil tells him he wishes to stay, as this is where their father lived, and tells Dante to leave while he still can. Despite everything, Dante still wishes to save his brother, but Virgil stops him with a quick slash to the hand, condemning himself to plunge into darkness. This is where we get our parallel to the start of the game, as twice now Dante has been stopped with a slash to the hand, but this time it wasn't an amulet he was reaching out for. It was his brother. A brother he once again was not able to save. I like to think that this moment, where Dante holds onto Force Edge and stares at it, is when he finally decides on seeking his revenge against Mundus for tearing his family apart, as he believes he's just lost everything once again. This makes future events more tragic, as Dante had to kill his brother once again, retroactively making the sequel better by giving a semi-explanation as to why Dante is in a depressed mood throughout the entire game. We cut back to what seems to be the ruins of 13th Avenue, where Lady is looking up at the sky. Dante hands her back Kalina Ann, and my favorite theme, Devils Never Cry, begins playing, as we get another one of the best cutscenes in the game.
We should be fine for now, but I'm sure they'll be back soon. Very soon.
Are you crying?
It's only the rain.
The rain already stopped.
Devils never cry.
I see. Maybe somewhere out there, even a devil may cry when he loses a loved one. Don't you think?
Maybe.
By the way... looks like we're gonna be busy for a while.
Well, bring it on. I love this. This is what I live for! I'm absolutely crazy about it!
What a fantastic way to end. Dante finally comes to terms with being part human and part demon, and Lady, who up until this point hated demons, is able to not only see the humanity in one, but also comfort him and reassure him that there is indeed goodness in him. Furthermore, the fact that Dante didn't want her to know he was crying sets up the reason for him always presenting himself as carefree and arrogant. He simply doesn't want others to know how much it hurts to have lost his brother again. Feelings which I'm sure were worsened after the events of the MC1, where he has to do it all over again. And if you thought you were done, well, not quite, as Devil May Cry games from now on all have playable credits, where you gotta do your best to kill 100 demons before the credits finish. This will give you a secret cutscene, where we see Virgil stuck in the underworld. He spots Mundus and heads to battle him, throwing Yamato's sheath away, signifying he is ready to die fighting. If only he knew a fate far worse than death awaited him. After this, we get a flash forward. Dante's shop is rebuilt, and he's sporting his outfit from Devil May Cry 1. Lady tells us the two have now partnered up in exterminating demons. We see the bloodied glove, showing how Dante won't allow himself to forget his failure. And we finally get to hear what he called the shop.
Wanna know the name?
Devil May Cry.
Okay, that's the main game covered, and what a ride it was. So what's next? Well, this is a Capcom game, and as we know, they are great when it comes to post-game content and replayability. First, you got your classics. You can now play the main campaign once again, while keeping all your unlocked moves, but with increased difficulty to match, as now enemies have a devil trigger of their own. Plus, if you ever feel like it, you can always replay the game with styles you didn't use before, making for a new gameplay loop every time you have an encounter, as you try to relearn what works best with each enemy. After that, you also got the Return of Bloody Palace in the special edition of the game, where you're able to clear hundreds of encounters as you make your way up the floors to face Virgil at the top. Wait, slow down. What the hell's a special edition? Well, after its success, the MC3 quickly got a re-release with the added subtitle Special Edition, originating the infamous mouthful of a title, Devil May Cry 3 Dante's Awakening Special Edition. This edition added a handful of things. One of them is the Bloody Palace, as I just mentioned. The other things added were the Jester boss fights, as those were not actually part of the original game, a demo digest which allowed players to replay cutscenes, and oh yeah, you can now play as Virgil. This was absolutely huge when it happened, because it wasn't just a cheap remodel. It was straight up a whole new experience, as you could relearn a whole new moveset. And the best part? They didn't nerf Virgil's power one bit, so playing as him is basically a power fantasy, something perfectly adequate given the character. This re-release is significant even to this day, as every Devil May Cry game following this one got its own special edition, which inevitably led to one of the most famous gags in internet culture.
You shall die!
So yeah, I'd say this game offers you some pretty good post-game content. While not quite at Resident Evil's level of replayability at the time, Devil May Cry 3 still provides you with a fresh experience every time you boot it up, which just adds more to an already perfect game. And this game really is something special to me. The way everything comes together, from the story and atmosphere, to the kick-ass soundtrack and stylish gameplay, it's just really stuck with me over the years, and will always make for an experience I'll never forget. Me and many others consider this game to be a masterpiece. So if you haven't already, then consider giving it a chance. And who knows, you may just find your new favorite game. Wow, you actually made it to the end of the video. I don't even know what to say. I really appreciate it. This video has been in the works for about a year or so, and I really hope you've enjoyed it if you made it this far. I've really worked hard on this and would appreciate any support you could give. So how about you drop a like or even subscribe for more videos like this? I've still got a few more Devil May Cry games to cover, and after that I'm open to suggestions on what to do next. So if you have any thoughts, feel free to drop a comment down below, as I do try to read them all. With that being said, I hope you've enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next video, and here's a little montage as a reward for watching the whole thing through.
You've heard of it, haven't you? The legend of Sparta. When I was young, my father would tell me stories about it. Long ago, in ancient times, a demon rebelled against his own kind for the sake of the human race. With his sword, he shut the portal to the demonic realm and sealed the evil entities off from our human world. But since he was a demon himself, his power was also trapped on the other side. I never believed it. I thought it was just a child's fairy tale. But I discovered that this so-called legend wasn't a myth at all. Sparta existed. How do I know? Well, I met the sons of Sparta. Both of them.
Footsteps could never follow. If
If you want to live tomorrow, steal a soul for a second.